Hi, welcome to another episode of Webcam Sessions. This week we're going to talk about left hand muting and how it's a technique that you can use to get some extra percussive effects with your ukulele. Now, chunking is this sort of sound, and we've worked on that before, and you can check out the video in the description below. That's all with our strumming hand, right? What muting is really using our left hand to mute the strings and create a very similar effect, but a little bit less pronounced. It sounds something like this. Now the way that we do this is really simple. We just take our fretting hand and we lay the fingers over the strings, but we want to make sure as we lay them over the strings that we don't compress them down and we're not touching them, but rather we're just having our fingers make those connections to the string. But notice how you can still see between the string and the finger, right? They're not pushing down. That state is going to give you a really nice kind of clicky sound. If you push too hard, it'll sound almost like you're fretting it, and if you're not pushing hard enough, it'll sound just awful. So it's that sort of perfect place to be in to create that sound. Now the trick to doing this technique really well is finding a chord. So let's try an F chord, for instance, with our middle finger here on the second fret of the G string and our index finger here on the first fret of the E string. We're going to strike the strings for the chord, and then we're going to try muting it. We're going to take these two fingers and we're going to lay them across the strings, just like we were working on before. And in addition to that, even though that's enough to create the mute, just these two touching, we're going to take these two fingers and we're going to release our pressure so that they are just touching the string. Again, not pushing down anymore, but rather just touching, right? Now you might be wondering, why do that, right? These fingers touching down are enough to be able to mute it. And the reason is because we want to make this feel the same no matter what chord we're playing. By always having whatever fingers are free come over and mute, and also have whatever fingers are fretting come off a little bit, we're kind of achieving this little equilibrium with our fingers going on and off the strings. Now the reason this is really critical is some chords we have all four fingers being used, right? So one of my favorite chords on the ukulele is called a G minor 7. Looks something like this. Our index finger here on the third fret of the G string, ring finger here on the fifth fret of the C string, middle finger here on the third fret of the E string, and pinky finger here on the fifth fret of the A string, right? So we have 3, 5, 3, 5. Now to create this muted sound, I have no free fingers, so these four have to be fretting down to create the sound of it sounding. And if I want to get a muted sound, I release the pressure with all of those, again, so that the string is not being compressed into the fretboard, but you can see that all four of them are coming off to create that muted sound, right? Now sometimes we're going to have the opportunity where we need a combination of the two. So let's take an E7 chord, for instance. 1 with our index finger here on the G string, 2 on the C string with our middle finger, and 2 on the A string with our ring finger. Now when I am wanting to do a mute here, my pinky is going to have to cross, and really the pinky's responsibility is this E string. Because the other three fingers are going to be muting the other three strings, the only thing that's going to ring naturally is my E string. So I have to make sure I bring my pinky in there to mute that. Now what you can do to practice with this is just try playing like a down up on the chord, and then when you go to a down up again, mute it. And practicing these different chords that we've been working on, will give you a very good variation in terms of different things to practice. Notice that even though each one of these is different in that the F chord really only needed these two fingers, the G minor 7 chord needed all four without crossing anything over, rather just all releasing their pressure, and the E7 needed a combination of these releasing as well as the pinky coming over. If you practice them all very similarly, right, where whatever finger is free comes over to mute and whatever fingers are fretting also mute, they all start to feel the same. They all start to feel similar, and that allows your muting to go to another level. And this is what people use when they're really trying to do a lot of, like jazz swing strumming type of stuff. That sort of sound is created with this really cool left hand muting technique. For more information on this technique, as well as to be able to play chord progressions like the one that I just did, be sure to check out my Ultimate Ukulele Strumming course that I did here with Ukulele Underground, and specifically the Jazz and Swing Strumming module. That focuses all on muting, swing strumming, and that sort of sound. And if you mute on your ukulele, maybe you do it a different way or have any questions, be sure to leave a comment down in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Webcam Sessions.